Dr. Rebecca, maybe we start off by giving us a brief introduction of APEC. Many people know of it as the annual Leaders Summit, where 21 member economy leaders meet together. Sometimes they dress in traditional costume in the destination.
Yeah.
But what is APEC? And secondly, what is APEC Secretariat?
The initial focus was really trade and investment. Then, as we developed, as things changed in the world, we cannot stand still. Yes, trade and investment still important, still our bread and butter, but there are other developments taking place, and we have to keep pace or even be ahead of the curve in that sense. So, if you look at the Putrajaya vision, we have three drivers: trade and investment, digitalization and innovation, and sustainable balanced growth, inclusive balanced growth, if you look at how we have formulated the vision. So clearly, APEC has really transformed itself in that sense.
So when it was established in 1989, you mentioned you had only 12 economic members.
Yes.
And today you have 21 member economies, and in fact, a lot of people don't know behind the scene that there's actually more than 100 meetings ongoing every year. I mean, we only saw the global headline when it's closing to the end, right? And many people don't know there's actually a permanent secretariat based here in Singapore. So what is the role of this APEC Secretariat?
We're non-binding, we're consensus-driven, but it's not a free-for-all, it's not a free flow. You have to ensure that there is proper engagement, constructive engagement. You need to ensure that everyone, all members, abide by guidelines and principles, and that's our role. We ensure that in meetings there's proper decorum, that folks abide by the nomenclature, the proper nomenclature that we all agreed on. So whatever the Secretariat does is really ensuring that we all comply with what we agreed in principle.
I'm interested to know, because APEC every year is different host country, and each country has their own initiative and things that they want to do. And I want to know more about the continuity on building those initiatives.
One of the things that sets us apart from some other organization in the fact that we do monitor, we track, and we ensure that there is continuity in whatever is done in the various initiatives. In 2017, when Vietnam chaired APEC, they said, okay, we are anticipating the completion of the BOGO goals, because the BOGO goals completion was, the timeline was 2020. Okay? So Vietnam said, okay, we can't just hope that we get to 2020 and things will fall into place. You got to work at it, right? So Vietnam initiated the idea of an APEC vision group. So, and they wanted a cross-functional vision group. So comprising academia, business, senior officials, policymakers. So you see that there is that continuity between 2017, 2018, you constitute it, you firm up the terms of reference, etc., and then 2019 they really started working in earnest to formulate the vision. Lots of discussions, lots of engagements. Then 2020, Malaysia's year, we really went through dotting the I's and crossing the T's and formulating that statement. So Thailand then said, let's focus our efforts as we are doing other things, also on taking forward our commitments, all the rhetoric that you have on sustainability and inclusive growth. And that led to the biocircular green economy model. So very solid, right? And this year, as the US is taking the chair of APEC, what they have done also is to build further on it.
I want to follow up on what you mentioned earlier. You said APEC is an organization, your principle is no binding, right? Critics may say that there's no teeth. So how do you see now in this APEC role, how do you see APEC as an organization will have a continuing impact on global economy?
That's an interesting question. APEC is non-binding, right? Unlike the WTO, unlike ASEAN, where you can sign agreements, APEC, you don't sign agreements. But what you do is you help move the needle. You help innovate ideas. You help put ideas into place, start germinating those ideas. So, and I've said it many times that the TPP, before it became CPTPP, started life in APEC, right? With the P4, it started with the four smaller member economies of APEC. And then as the four economies started to brief the bigger group, here's what we're doing on trade, for example. They started to talk about it. Our records have shown that we have done some really solid work. And we've also, we've had some difficult decisions. I mean, some difficult discussions. It's difficult to have that controversial to some extent at the WTO, but you can have them, through our workshops and capacity building sessions and engagement with the private sector, the business sector experts, refine some of these ideas. For example, what we call the next generation trade and investment issues. Okay, your traditional trade and investment agreement has just bread and butter issues, but TPP and CPTPP is, to some extent, have other elements inside, right? Whether it's competition policy, intellectual property policies, all those competition policies, right? Those are relatively difficult for to be negotiated at a very high level, say at the WTO. Yeah. But in APEC, because we're non-binding, we can discuss this, we can trash it out, you can disagree. So everyone, the member economies hear each other out. You know the concerns. So you know that when you're going to negotiations, because you will maybe engage in a bilateral negotiation, but you've already heard a lot of the issues here. So it sort of hastens the process of negotiations.